In 2004, South Africa was introduced to an SUV crossover with a difference, the Nissan Murano, and it made an impact almost immediately, being voted one of the Car of the Year finalists in 2005. Now, as impressive as that is, it was a few years ago, and there's always room for improvement. And so here we have the next generation Murano, and as far as improvements go, well, that's a tough one. The original Murano wasn't exactly the epitome of popular design, which to me isn't a bad thing. No point spending all that money on something that no one is really going to take any notice of. The new Murano has morphed from something that was different to something that's out of this world. I mean, the front end is a bit alien looking. The side is podgy and the back is just generic Nissan. It's like the whole design doesn't really fit together. Well, according to me anyway. I suppose the other way to look at it is to say that while the front may be pushing a few boundaries, at least the rest of the car is more acceptable and more familiar. Just like the engine, which is Nissan's much-awarded 3.5-litre V6 that's done duty in everything from the Pathfinder to the old 350Z and even a couple of Renaults. It puts out 191 kilowatts and 336 newton meters. Now, being the next generation, you'd expect it to be an all-round improvement, and it is. 0 to 100 time is faster by 0.9 to 8 seconds, top speed is higher, and it uses less fuel, down from 12 litres per 100 to 10.9. The Murano features Nissan's intelligent all-mode 4x4, which automatically adjusts the power delivery between the front and rear axle depending on road conditions. There's also a four-wheel drive lock switch for when you encounter those steeper than usual grass banks on which to park. Now, Nissan will tell you that this crossover SUV has the soul of a sports car, but that's a bit like saying that Os du Randt has the soul of a sprinter. Which is not to say he doesn't have talents in other areas like the Murano, which is an all-round comfortable drive. There's just no getting away from its size and its bulk. It really feels its weight in the corners, although surprisingly the brakes don't have the same problem with the weight. And there is another surprise as well. The Xtronic CVT gearbox. Now, no doubt you are aware of RPM's utter disdain for CVT gearboxes. They are about as pleasant and useful as a month in a Siberian labor camp. Or at least they used to be. For the first time ever, I actually don't have a problem with a CVT gearbox. It's not perfect, but it's light years ahead of anything else I've driven. Nissan haven't redeveloped the concept of the CVT, they've just added some really clever software. So it's smooth like all CVTs, but it's just not as annoying. I mean, the only time it does that impersonation of a slipping clutch is when you really floor it. But you stop doing that after a while because you learn that hard acceleration in this car doesn't really get you far anyway. So if you let it do its own thing, or if you change gears yourself, it just feels and it sounds right. This is a good CVT gearbox. There, I said it. But even better than that, even more impressive and undoubtedly this car's biggest strength is this, the interior. Nissan have applied the Goldilocks principle in here, and it's worked out brilliantly. Not too much, not too little, just the right amount of useful stuff to make a cabin that's just about perfect. Now, Nissan will tell you all kinds of boring stuff about how the interior takes its inspiration from cruise ships and rugby balls. Now just ignore all of that rubbish and concentrate on what you get in here. The infotainment system, which doesn't have a fancy name like multimedia interface or iDrive, still manages to be one of the best in the business. It looks good, it works like it should, and it's really simple to operate. Remember what I said about having just the right amount of stuff? Some SUVs have got 5 exterior cameras. The Murano has 2, where they count. One for reversing and one for checking the passenger side curb. Some SUVs have got seats that electrically fold down and up. The Murano only folds up, which makes sense when you can rely on gravity to get the rear seats to fold down. There's keyless entry, Bluetooth phone setup, auxiliary connections, DVD-based sat-nav, voice control, cruise control, climate control, electrically adjustable driver's seat. The list goes on, like my mother asking me when I'm going to have children. And the good news is that everything you see here is all part of the asking price, which is 494,000 Rand. Apart from the styling, you can't really argue with the Murano. Okay, it's no thrill machine, but it's got about the right amount of power for an SUV, and it's got a really comfortable cabin filled with useful tech. But what I really like about it is that it's not too much of one thing and not too little of the other. It's just a great all-round package. A glorious V6 with soundtrack to match promises ample performance, while the raised ground clearance and all-wheel drive underline the big Nissan's crossover identity. The spacious and versatile interior is well equipped with all the necessary bells and whistles, ensuring a satisfying crossover experience. Pity the dynamics don't quite live up to expectations though.